Hey, what's up guys? A couple days ago somebody asked me to do a video on how I bought my first van, and I went back through the comments to try to find out who sent that to me, and I actually couldn't find it again, so I apologize that you're not going to get credit for this. But you know who you are. Leave a comment on this video and I'll make sure to recognize you. So in order to talk about how I got my van, I need to explain my opinion on finances a little bit. And everybody views finances a little bit differently, and there's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different ways that work. And so if you disagree, that's fine, but just know this is how I look at them. I'll just say right from the get-go, I don't really like debt because that makes you a slave to the lender. And the reason I started my business is because I don't want to be a slave. I don't want to have to work for other people and meet their expectations and do things I don't want to do just because I'm beholden to other people. And so one of my first goals was to actually get a van. I was washing windows and I didn't have any way to transport my ladders and any of my window washing equipment. And eventually I bought a truck, but I found out that the truck didn't have a cover on it, and I live in the Pacific Northwest where it rains a lot. And so my equipment would get rained on. It was a huge pain in the ass. And then I lived in an apartment building, and so I couldn't leave all my tools in the back of my truck. So every day after working like 12-hour days washing windows, I'd have to unload my truck. And I thought, a van would be really cool because I could just leave all my tools and stuff in there. If I get an alarm on the van, no one's gonna tamper with it. And it would just make my life a lot easier. I don't have to load it and unload it. It doesn't get rained on. I look more professional. And so getting a van was like a really big deal for me. Now, going back to my opinion on finances, I was reading in Rich Dad Poor Dad that there are 4 words that you need to know in finance, and that's income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. Now, the way I like to use my finances is I like to use my income to pay down my liabilities, pay down my debts. Because debts, they add to your expense column. And the way that you manage your finances in a business and in life is making sure that you have a lot more income coming in than you have expenses going out. So I don't like to leverage myself too much by taking on too much debt if it's not going to produce an income. And when I do have an income, I like to pay down on those liabilities and those debts so that I don't have as many expenses coming out. And that way I always have a lot more money coming in than what's going out. So anyway, when I initially got started, I didn't want to take on any debt. And the biggest reason was I didn't know how to make an income. I'd never had a business before. I'd never had a service of my own. And I didn't know if I could go out and make money. And I really wanted to test myself and test my business idea before I committed myself to a bank by taking a big loan that I was gonna have to pay back. And so initially I was just going out and I was washing windows, and I would rent trucks from Home Depot. Sometimes I would just use my car, and it looked really unprofessional. It was really ghetto looking, but got the job done because I was able to close deals, I was able to deliver on the service, and I was able to get the income rolling in. And I did that for a long time, a really long time. And it's because I wasn't making much money, so as soon as it was coming in, I was spending it on other business things initially. So it took me a lot longer than I would have liked to. But I want to mention this because a lot of people, when they first start a business, they're like, well, did you get government grants? Did you get a loan? Did you get money from an investor? Like, how did you get your capital to get started? And I don't like the idea of getting a big chunk of money right at the beginning if you don't know how to earn an income, because you could blow through all that money. Everyone knows how to spend money, but not everybody knows how to get money coming in through the door. And so if you get money from an outside source, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be successful long term. Like, really, you have to know how to get the money flowing in all the time. So anyway, once I got to that stage where like money was coming in on a regular basis and I knew I could meet some basic financial commitments, I went out and I bought a very cheap van. I think it was like $4,000 or $5,000 or something. And the van was probably worth 7 or 8, but I talked the guy at the dealership way, way, way down, and I made a down payment on it. So what happened was I got this new asset that was worth like $7,000, but since I put some initial money into it and I talked him way down, my loan on it was only $4,000. So that meant I had $3,000 worth of equity in the van. Now this was vitally important because if my business went south, or if I needed to quit, or if I got hurt, or if anything happened, I still had an asset that I could sell to generate an income to wipe out that debt. Now, a lot of people will put things on credit cards or whatever, and they might buy marketing materials or shirts and hats, or they might take clients out to dinner and put it on credit. They might spend money on a website. All of those things are fine if you have the money, but none of those are assets that you can actually sell to get rid of the debt that's associated with them. So you're taking on debt to buy something that is gone as soon as you use it. I like to use debt to buy an asset that's worth more than the actual debt that I'm taking on. That way, if I ever need to get out of it, I could just sell that asset and get out of the debt and move on with my life. And then I also like to buy assets that are gonna generate more of an income for me. So you could put like a big sign on your van so that it starts generating an income. That way, you know, you pay $4,000 for a van. Not only is it transporting all your tools around, but now you have a $200 payment. So why not put some big signs on it so that you're making like an extra couple of deals a month so that you can now make your van payment basically for free. And so that's how I like to do it. So I got this van and I got a really good deal on it, and the loan was a lot smaller than what the van was actually worth. And then I made the minimum payment for a couple of months, and eventually I got some bigger customers. I looked more professional. Now this van, I do want to say, I want to go back a little bit. It was an older van, but it looked nice. It was all white, there's no rust on it, no big dents. The wheels and tires look good. It's like a professional looking van, but it's 20 years old. It has like almost 200,000 miles on it, but it starts right up and it runs really good. And I want to mention all this because you might be tempted to go out and buy a $20,000 or $30,000 van right from the beginning because it's like, oh, I need to look professional and set up this image for myself. You don't need to do that, especially if you don't know how to get the income coming in. Don't get sucked into the trap of buying fancy things to look like a professional business owner when you're just getting started, you know? And that's why I'm saying, like, this is just my opinion, because some people might disagree with me. But this is how I've done it, and this is how I've maintained a positive cash flow month over month and really grown my business. And now I can buy whatever van I want. So when you're first starting out, go cheap. Buy something professional, something that looks good, but something that's very inexpensive and easy to manage. So anyway, so I got this van for like $4,000. I had a $4,000 loan on it, and eventually my business did continue to grow, and the van really paid off, and I was very happy that I had this van. And eventually I got a really big customer that was a big, it was a big manufacturing company that makes medical devices. They make sutures and stitches for a lot of hospitals. And this guy just had a ton of money, and there's a long story behind it, but essentially he hired me for like $4,500 a month, and I started doing all the work on my own there, and so I had all that money, and I was able to use that. This guy hired me for $4,500 a month, and I took that money and I immediately just paid off my van, wiped out the loan. And so I only had the loan on the van for maybe a year, and it really helped me build good credit. And then I wiped it out, and that got rid of my expense on my expense sheet. And so now my cash flow was positive by $200 more every month. So that's how I bought my van. That's how I'd recommend people just getting starting in business buy vans or big assets like that. Don't take on too much liabilities to get those assets, and make sure that you can sell them to get out of that debt if need be. So hopefully this wasn't too confusing. I was just trying to think through everything as I was saying it, so hopefully it came across clear and concise. But anyway, guys, if you want to do what you want, when you want, how you want, or who you want, and how much you want, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys next time.